Greetings! We have all been there. New player, just starting out. Want to get some legit advice on how to get better? Then reality hits us. All we get is play more. Feeling frustrated, we ask our friends, favorite Discord channels, God forbid, maybe Reddit too. All the same answer. Play more, play more, play more, play more. I mean, what the heck? I thought we already outsourced playing more to streamers, so we can just lay back and vibe. OS players are surprisingly competitive. I actually made a poll recently where I asked if they would prefer to be a good player, a good mapper, or a good content creator. You can only choose one, so don't get smart in the comments saying, "But Verto, I will be a good content creator as a good player." I thought content creator is going to get the most votes. I mean, zoomers be zooming, am I right? But being a good player actually got like 70% of the votes. This made me wonder, if the game is so competitive, the question of whether it is possible to master OS's mechanics is a pretty important question. After all, what if it turns out it's all genetics or luck? I'm kidding, of course, but it is still an interesting question worth investigating. Naturally, this video is not a definitive answer to that question. If you have your own opinions on the topic, feel free to write them in the comments below. This video was heavily influenced by Retryspam's The 4 Things It Takes to Be an Expert video. I have linked it in the description with my other sources. I think it is a splendid topic that can be used to overanalyze OS as we usually do on this channel. So now, without further ado, let's start with the first criteria. OS is all about repeated attempts and the positive feedback loop. You play a map, you shit miss, play again, shit miss, play again, shit miss, play again, shit miss, play again. Do this about a couple of hundreds of times until the stars align and you finally FC it with bad accuracy that you won't be able to fix for the next half a year at least. But at the end of the map, you get your positive feedback in the form of a sudden dopamine rush and maybe a couple of PPs as well. This is basically the core of OS's feedback loop, which is one of the reasons why this game is so competitive. The game is just built for positively reinforcing improvement. Unless you're a tech player. Sorry. That's why play more is actually a good advice, even if it doesn't show the whole picture. No matter what you do, without playing more, there are no further steps. Makes sense, right? You cannot master anything without putting in the hours. How you put in the hours, though, will be discussed later in this video, because that is really important. Since OS fulfills the first criteria for mastering the game perfectly, it is one of the most powerful tools to improve as a player as well. You play the maps that are challenging but not too challenging. You try to beat your friends' scores. You farm some of that sweet PP, and you are basically covered for improvement for a very long time. OS has many different patterns, which appear consistently in ranked maps due to mapping conventions. It's a little bit like anime, where the genres and tropes are already established and you rarely get truly unique stuff. If you do, it can be the best thing you have ever seen, or a huge flop. A big part of mastering the game is mastering these recurring patterns. Jump streams, squares, triangles, obtuse patterns, flow aim, you know, all those stuff. But you need to familiarize yourself with patterns before you can master them. This can be seen with specialized primates, players, who might be beasts on DT jumps, but may be lacking at other aspects, such as low AR reading or finger control. While retrying is not inherently evil, it can be a double-edged sword too. Acquiring the wrong muscle memory due to cheesing can be a really big issue. Mental blocks are also caused by too much retrying without being in the right mindset. If you are retrying like you would retry a slot machine, then you gotta be careful not to develop incorrect muscle memory or a life-ruining gambling addiction. The second thing would be a valid environment. Let's just call it the luck factor. Luck is the main enemy of mastery. Any randomness holds the player back from getting accurate feedback from their repeated attempts. You might lose a game of Dota at the 50-minute mark because of a lucky crit or your teammates throwing.
Omni Knight has now tilted over the edge and goes mid and destroys all his items.
Conversely, you might get the greatest speedrun in the game due to a lucky spawn, even though you are not as skilled as the record would make you believe. That is not to say that all random chance elements are devoid of skill. Poker players count cards and use probability to their advantage, which averages out in the long run, but in a single game, it is not a surefire way to win. Luckily, get it? O's is very good about the randomness factor as well. It is nearly devoid of all luck-based elements. The inputs don't lie. You either hit or miss. I guess they never miss, huh? There are no random factors like crit rate, random spawns. The maps do not randomly rearrange themselves on each play, although the ranked section might lead you to believe otherwise. The luck factor may still come into play though, believe it or not, though it is not that straightforward. We are all familiar with random lag spikes, crashes, scores not submitting, keyboards not registering hits due to wear and tear. These are not the player's fault, and not necessarily the game's either. You are not getting a lag spike because you are playing terribly. Peppy would be the most evil supervillain if he coded the game like that. But it still contributes to the randomness factor. It might make or break entire O's careers. A player could be on a roll, full comboing maps they weren't able to left and right, and their best play so far could be ruined by a lag spike that sends them into a downward spiral, where they just get mental blocks, or worse, decide to cheat the score. You know, maybe the 15-year-old spaghetti code could be at fault, but conceptually, O's has virtually no direct luck elements. Hopefully the game will be smooth as the average Twitter user's brain once Laser replaces the old client. There is also inherent randomness in life. We cannot chalk those up to the game either. You might be living in a third world country like Hungary, for example, which means you cannot afford a 144Hz monitor, or even a computer, or electricity at all. Oh god, please donate to my Patreon. Timely feedback. Imagine this. You play a map, but you don't get any feedback whether you accurately hit the notes or not. No accuracy, no hundreds, no 50s, no misses, just vibes. And the screen? Never heard of it. After a couple of months, Peppy will email you with the replay. Yep, he will personally send everyone the replay file. Don't worry about the details now, you get the idea. You need to wait months before you see whether you full comboed the map or if you slider broke in the middle. It would be very hard to improve if you have no idea what you did right or wrong for months. Isn't that true? Well, good thing the feedback in O's is also very instantaneous. If you don't hit a circle, you miss. If you press it too early or too late, it will show 100 or a 50. You can even see where you were late or early at the bottom if you have the score meter enabled. Your overall accuracy is displayed during the play, and at the end you can see the unstable rate, which tells you how consistently you kept the rhythm. These instantaneous feedbacks contribute greatly to the player's improvement. You can't just leave that 89% full combo like that. You gotta improve it, because you just know that it can be improved. That miss in the middle was totally a shit miss. I can do better. Oh man, those are a lot of misses. Jeez, that's buddy, you might want to play something easier. We can't be all cookiesy. However, there are inaccuracies with O's feedback system. In Score V1, hitting the slider head is an automatic 300, unless you hit them really early or really late. Score V1 is also not a good indicator whether your play was better or worse than your other plays, or plays by others for that matter. Score V2 isn't all that much better either. PP scoring is slightly better, which is shocking, I know, but it's still not perfect, obviously. Accuracy is weighted more in PP than in Score V1, but it still struggles with the same combo scaling issues. Take this purposefully extreme example. Unless this is an OD0 map, these two plays shouldn't have the same PP, but they do, which is why I cannot say that O's is perfect about timely feedback. It is still very good at it, don't get me wrong, just not perfect. I don't think it can be perfect either, since many aspects of rhythm games are subjective. How do you compare a tech map and a farm map, hidden and no mode, high approach rate versus low approach rate? Is there even such a thing as the golden ratio of density to AR? I don't know. All I know is that I played this game long enough to see AR 9 as the most comfortable AR and AR 10 a major skill check. It would be insane to say that in 2022. Number 4. Don't get too comfortable. This is the part where play more becomes an inadequate advice if someone is looking for mastering goals. Of course, this advice is told to new players the most, and pushing limits will only become relevant once you have mastered the very basic mechanics of the game. Before that happens, playing more is pushing your limits. After that though, things get a little tricky. Os is actually great at giving players challenges that push their limits. There are always going to be bigger jumps, faster streams, trickier attack patterns, and if that wasn't enough, combining these skills will exponentially make maps more difficult. There are always going to be better players than you, so there will always be someone to have healthy rivalries with. The sky is the limit, and even if you reach it, the next thing will be exiting this Earth atmosphere. Be careful of pushing your limits too much though. If you are constantly retrying maps that you have barely any idea what's going on, it won't really help you with mastering the game either. The worst part about finding ways to play patterns in an easier way, but not the right way, is that your muscle memory will remember that. Just like how I remember the end of 2019. But mastering them after you have learned to play it in the wrong way is double the trouble. It's like walking in the wrong direction for hours, days even, then realizing the right way is the other direction, so you have to walk back and make the distance where you actually need to be. And that's not just mental, it's physical too. The way you play certain patterns is stuck into your muscle memory. It's not as easy as remembering not to double tap that stream because all you did in 2017 was double tapping Hidamari no Uta. I'm sure you had moments where, mentally, you were aware that you must not play some pattern like you did last time, then end up playing it exactly the same. It takes a lot of effort to reach the point where you can play stuff you struggled with effortlessly. Just throwing hours at the game will not help you master it. There are players who are stuck in 6-digit with hundreds of hours, even thousands. There are hundreds of comments confirming this under my Dunning-Kruger video. Whether they realize it or not is another question. Look, I'm not perfect either. I know how it is being stuck. Maybe not in 6-digit, but I got stuck in 4-digit with thousands of hours for a number of reasons. That is why I'm not just talking out of my ass on this issue. Pushing your limits is hard, and if you don't get that sweet dopamine rush frequently enough, you just won't try to improve as much anymore. There is no reason for your brain to push yourself anymore. Out of my 2000 plus hours, maybe half was spent on just score farming, where I would play maps well within my comfort zone. This gave me a steady dose of dopamine for sure, and I was in the top 50 in ranked score rankings for a while, not trying to flex or anything, and it also improved my consistency on milquetoast maps that I was already pretty comfortable on, but it did not help me push my limits, or even become more consistent on harder maps. It only helped me become a better score farmer. The hundreds and thousands of hours are truly the most important factor in improvement, but without having a clear progress curve, a steady, high dopamine feedback loop, and friends and rivals to challenge you, just playing and vibing will not be enough. But look, I have a full-time job now. Many real-life responsibilities. Maybe you have these too, so improving in Os is not much of a priority in my or our lives anymore. Maybe it was for a while, but things just change sometimes. And for some players, it was never even a priority to begin with. At the end of the day, Os is just a game. Hopefully you play it for fun, to be part of a community, and maybe get some satisfaction out of mastering a skill, however useless it might be in other aspects of your life. To answer this video's question, I think Os is definitely a game you can master. All the requirements are more or less provided for the players. Where you need to be to reach it is another question. The best players in the game continuously put the limit higher and higher, so much so that it is nearly unfeasible to reach their level in all skill aspects of the game. As a regular Joe, specialization does provide an opportunity to those who really want to master one aspect of the game for one reason or another. But is it really what you are looking for? Are you truly looking for mastering O's for the sake of mastering it? It doesn't help in most other aspects of your life. But verto fingering. Dude, this is supposed to be the emotional part of the video, stop ruining it. The viewers might be struggling with social anxiety, and being good at O's is the only way they see a chance to be popular in the community, and in life in general. They may have had great ambitions as a kid, or maybe they still have some, to be an excellent singer, a guitar player, a pianist, or just someone people admire, but they didn't have the opportunity to capitalize on their dreams. They may be feeling inadequate in their life, and they see mastering this game as a way to scratch that insecurity. Failing high school or university is very common, and escaping into the steady, linear improvement grind of O's is comforting to someone whose life does not seem to improve. The question of why someone wants to spend thousands of hours into this game to master it is complicated. I do not judge anyone who falls into this rabbit hole due to their circumstances. Nobody should. It can happen to any one of us, including you. Including me.